Hey, listeners. Well, I have a treat for you here. Guy who's got a very thriving and growing home inspection business down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I think. I have Blake Williams on the line or on the screen. How you doing this evening, Blake?
I'm doing great, Preston. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for coming, man. I've heard a lot of good things about you. So we'd like to get to know a little bid about you personally. So tell us how'd you get to where you are? And, not too many of us grew up. I didn't even know what a home inspector was. What did you want to be when you were a kid? But how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I started out, I can go way back. My dad was a commercial drywall and ceiling contractor when I was growing up. And so from the time I was 12 years old, I was riding on a delivery truck delivering building materials to job sites all over Oklahoma.
Okay.
And when I was 15, I started as an apprentice carpenter doing metal stud framing, acoustical ceilings, hanging drywall, that kind of stuff. And I'll never forget one day we were sitting there on break, and there was a guy that worked for my dad. His name was Larry Link. He was a lifetime drywaller. And, he was long gray hair. He'd been in and out of prison, just leathery skin, probably aged well beyond his years. And he was sitting there smoking a cigarette. And he took a draw of cigarette and he said, Blake, one of these days I'm going to keel over on a pile of sheetrock and they're going to haul me out with the trash.
Oh, geez.
And so I decided at that point that I probably ought to go to college. So I did. And I went to the University of Oklahoma, working for my dad the whole way through college, and got a degree in accounting. And worked for an accountant for about 6 months, and I hated it. My last 2 years at college, I worked nights at a country club, waiting tables. And my boss there, the food and beverage manager, got a job as a general manager. And so he hired me to go to a club in Enid, Oklahoma, to be his assistant manager.
Okay.
And so I got into the country club business, and it was a lot of fun, but it's a lot of stress and hard work. But that's
sounds like an improvement from the drywall business.
Yeah. I was playing golf 2 or 3 times a week, but met my wife there in Enid, Oklahoma, and I met her in September. We had our first date in November and got married in April. So it was
oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, and we've been married 28 years now. So.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. Nice.
But I worked in country clubs, and man, it was just rough. I was working 12, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, and had to work every holiday. And I had a daughter that was growing up and had a son on the way, or did have a son there. And I decided, it was just too much. I was burned out after 12 years. I moved up pretty fast. I mean, at one point I was the youngest country club general manager in the nation at 27 years old. And, but after 12 years, I decided to quit. And at that time, my dad had shut down his construction company and was doing home inspections.
Right.
And he had a pest control license. And so I moved over from Louisiana, where I was working, to Dallas-Fort Worth, and started working with him. First, I was running his pest control business for him, and then started doing inspections in 2006. And then in 2009, I decided to start my own company. And I worked on my own for a while until 2013. I decided to start a real business rather than being self-employed.
Right.
And so we hired our first inspector in 2014, and we now have 22 inspectors on staff.
Holy cow! From 2014, 22 inspectors. Wow. Yeah. That's impressive, man. That is pretty impressive. Well,
and my wife is my partner, and she's been instrumental in building this company alongside me. I need to mention that.
Awesome. Well, we'll dive into that, but I want to back up on a couple of things you said there. So you're an Oklahoma Sooner, right?
Boomer Sooner all the way.
Yeah, when I played football in high school, I remember I was in ninth grade. The player of the world was Marcus Dupree. I don't know if you remember him, and it's such a sad. I don't know if you ever seen that 30 for 30, the best that never was. I guess he kind of got into a thing with the Switzer, and he played in the USFL. He did well, and then he got hurt. And
he actually played for the Rams.
Yeah, but he got hurt. I think he's driving a cement truck now or something. But man, I love that dude. And then Bosworth.
I
had my haircut like Boz and everything, man. Were you there when he was there?
Yeah, I had classes with him, some finance classes and things.
No way. Yeah, I even man, I was a big Boz fan because I thought he was brilliant. Like he was a smart business dude because when he played for the Seahawks, I think when they went into Kansas City, like everybody hated the Boz, because he was, he promoted himself, and he I heard this quote the other day. You should be either loved or hated because there's really no money in the middle. Well, he profited off being hated because they were selling all these shirts called the Boz Buster and all this stuff. Guess who had them printed up? He's the one that sold the shirts. These people he was making money off the hate of him, but anyway.
Hey, might as well.
I know everybody's like the Bo Jackson drug him into the end zone, but I mean,
it wasn't that bad.
That's what I said. I mean, it could have been. It was just one play. I mean, dude, there's so many things can happen. You can have your footing wrong. Somebody catch you. You just don't have the leverage or whatever. I mean, I don't know why they made such a big deal out of that.
Well, you and Boz are kind of kindred spirits. I mean, you got the crazy pants. He had the crazy hairdo.
Well, and I had the crazy hair back then, if you would have seen it. But thank goodness they didn't have the internet back then. Not like it is social media today. But anyway. Well, let me back up. You say 22 inspectors? That's pretty awesome. And especially since 2014. So what was it like hiring that first one? Because I know a lot of our listeners struggle with that. Nobody can do it as good as me. And I'm struggling with that with a marketing person now. I struggled with the inspector thing years ago. But how was that for you? And how, take us back there. How'd you do it?
Well, I'd worked for my dad's company, and he had a small firm. He had, I think the biggest he got was maybe 4 inspectors that worked for him. So to me, it really wasn't. I wasn't too hesitant on it. Now I made a huge mistake on my first hire. I hired the guy. He had a license. He had a license for about a year, and I was just like, "All right, come on." And I showed him the report software I was using. He said, "Yeah, I can use that." And I said, "Great." And I sent him out there. And of course it was a disaster. He, after a while, it was just 3 out of every 5 inspections he did, I was getting a phone call about.
Oh gosh.
and it was my fault. I didn't train the guy like I wanted him to do. I didn't train him to do inspections like I did them or like I wanted him to do them. But I ended up letting him go. And like I said, that was totally my fault. But that failure on my part then prompted me to realize I had to have a really good training program for inspectors if I was going to grow. And so we put together a good training program. And I feel like that was having that program in place was a big growth catalyst for us. And figuring that out on the first inspector was instrumental to our growth as well.
Awesome. Well, let me follow up with that then. Let's say that I'm a new inspector and you just hired me. Now I know, experience. I get where I'm going with this is what's your training program look like? And we have one, and I would love to say it's X number of inspections, X number of things, but the reality is everybody's different. I mean, there's probably a minimum, but some people pick up on certain things really quick and others not so much. But anyway, how would you get me from the point of I'm a newbie, you know, I've got my license, I've got my certification, but out on my own? What's that training program, or at least, you know, the highlights of it? What would that look like?
Yeah, so we have a director of services who's over all the inspectors, and then we have 4 lead inspectors underneath him. And part of their responsibility is training new inspectors. And so a new inspector will ride along with the lead inspector. We like to say for at least 100 inspections, but like you say, you know, if they're catching on quick and we can get them out there faster, that's great. That's less money out of our pocket. However, if they're not catching on and it takes them 150, you know, there's a limit how far we'll go. You know, if they can't get it after about 200 inspections, we may be getting out of business with that person. But, you know, 100 inspections is kind of the minimum, or not minimum, but just what we target at. And so we have every week, he'll sit down with the lead inspector and they'll pick out 3 different things that they want to have mastered by the end of that week, whether it's, you know, water heaters, plumbing, air conditioners, whatever it is. And then at the end of the week, the lead inspector will have him, you know, go over with him what he's learned. And they're doing this in a house that they're inspecting. So show me how you inspect this and show me what deficiencies you're looking for. And then he has to prove that. All the while he's helping him do inspections, he or she, I should say, is helping him do inspections along the way and learning how to use the report software and write comments and all that kind of stuff. But they keep that weekly goal of, okay, what are we going to master this week, every week, until he's mastered everything. Then they do a final exam inspection. So we find a vacant house and we have one of our experienced inspectors inspect it, and then we have the trainee inspect it, and we compare the reports, make sure they're fairly consistent. And then we have that trainee present the report to a panel, usually the director of services and maybe me or my wife and one other person, as if we were the clients buying the house, because we want them to be able to present the report. And that's one of the things they have to master during the training program, is the communication part. And so once they do that and we're satisfied with it, then we start them out just doing 1 inspection a day for a while until they start feeling comfortable. And then we start giving them 2. We never give anybody more than 2. We have made exceptions to that rule from time to time, but mostly 2 inspections a day.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. You know, it's funny, and we have something very similar to what you do. I mean, and people do. I used to say, you know, there's kind of 3 parts to it. But one part I can't teach is personality. I can't teach scripts, you know, and things to say. But there's the actual inspection, the technical part. But another part that used to get me was, you know, the computer part, or, you know, the writing the report. And that used to be tough, although it's getting less and less, because, you know, back, you know, when I was in the late 90s, I mean, you know, older guys such as myself, you know, we didn't grow up with computers, you know what I mean? Like, we had MS-DOS, you know, I mean, but the younger guys, it's not as much as it used to, you know, I mean, I still hunt and peck, you know, but I guess moving forward, computer skills is more of a given now. But
yeah,
it wasn't 10 years ago.
Yeah, the technology's made it easier too. I mean, we just switched over from a Whisper software to Spectora, and man, our guys are knocking out reports in about half the time that they were. And learning how to use Spectora over what we were using is it's night and day, so much faster.
Wow, how was the learning curve with that? Was it tough, or was it pretty easy transition for you from Whisper?
Well, it took us a while to get the Spectora set up in the format that we wanted it. And when they tried to import our comments in, it didn't really work very well. So we ended up inputting, copying, and pasting them. And we had like 1,600 comments.
Oh wow!
And so we ended up copying and pasting all those into there. So it took a while for us to get it set up. But once we got it set up, it only took a few weeks to roll it out, really. We rolled it out to the lead inspectors first, and then we did 4 inspectors a week for like 4 weeks or 5 weeks until we got them all up to speed.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it's funny. We've added reports over time. Yeah, I mean, comments over time, and now we've had to go the other way because our reports got so long. Yeah, well, I mean, I know what you're saying. Different options for things, but we had to go back and now start editing, like, because there was a little bit of overlap, or one thing would say one thing, then so now we're trying. We were building this thing, and now we're trying to edit it. So.
Well, and you had, some inspectors putting in their own comments and saving those. And so then we had duplicates all through there, so I understand what you're saying. It's just a lot of editing and everything to get it right.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Well, Blake, what would you, if somebody came up to you, we're at a conference or something, just starting out, brand new, starting their own one-man shop, what, with everything you've learned, what advice would you give them?
Well, it depends what they want to do. If they want to grow and have a company rather than being self-employed, then the first thing they really need to do is hire an admin, somebody to answer the phone, book appointments for them, help organize everything, keep their books for them so that they can focus on really building the business, whether that's, and it depends what their skill set is and where their passion lies. Like you're a marketing guy, right? So that's where your lane is. Me, I was more of an inspector, so I brought my wife in to do marketing. And so where you want to put your focus in the business is where you need to be, and then you got to hire everything else around you. So but having that admin person really, to me, is the first step. That was the first thing I did when I decided to grow the company, was hire an admin person. And that allowed me then to focus on training inspectors, focus on recruiting inspectors, hiring inspectors. And my wife allowed her to focus on marketing. So that's where I would start.
No, that's excellent advice. And I'm going to take exactly what you said and just build on it just a little bit. And I heard this, and it's, a lot of us become entrepreneurs because we think we can do things better. But then we systematically, if we want to scale or grow, we have to start, getting people to do certain things, like you said, admin. And, when somebody's hesitant to hire an admin or a marketing person, guilty as charged, you got to ask yourself, well, Blake, what's your time worth? As a single man, how much do you make per inspection? Divide that by number of hours. I would say most people, it's over $100 an hour. Yeah. I think when I was one man, I probably figured it around 125, 150 bucks an hour. So then think about that for a second. Now, could you hire an admin person, and because if you think about it, if you're doing it, you're right now paying an admin $150 an hour. And probably not that good of an admin if he's doing a lot of other things, right? So I guarantee you could hire a really good admin for, $15, $18 an hour. I don't know, whatever. I don't know what it is, but
yeah, there's with a lot of people, there's a mindset that how can I bring this person on, whether it's a marketing person or an admin person, I can't afford to pay them. But it really, your mindset has to be around is I can't afford not to have this person because they're going to bring in revenue. They're going to make my business grow faster and be more profitable. You gotta really look at every employee you hire should bring profits that are 3 times what it costs you to have them on staff.
Absolutely.
And that's true when you look at it, especially on the marketing side, within a few months, they ought to be bringing in business revenue. And of course, marketing is the easiest one to track, because you just track their sales, right? With the admin, it's a little bit more difficult, but it's just exactly what you say. You're saving all the time you were spending on that. and you're getting $150 an hour for that time instead of sitting there paying yourself $150 an hour.
Yeah, I mean, everything that you're doing right now, you're paying $150 an hour to get done. Yeah. And you know, when you're saying I can't afford to pay, well, you're already paying somebody $150 an hour, and he's not that good at it because he can't be good at 3 different jobs. You know.
I tell you, I just got out of the field last December.
Okay.
And I should have got out way earlier, but I was looking at a monthly financial statement. Actually, it was a year-to-date financial statement through November of 2018. And I looked at the size of my payroll, and it was like $1 million. And I was like, I'm paying people $1 million, and yet I'm still working. Why am I working when I'm paying out $1 million? And
wow.
I ought to have to do everything. There's no reason for me to do it, you know.
Well, I'm right there with you. The marketing, you know. And Wally told me one time, he said, and he's true, he said, you know, if you're the engine that's driving your business or whatever, if you're the engine or you're an integral part of that engine, that the engine can't run without you, you don't have an engine, you don't have a business, you got a job.
And your business has no value at that point either. That's without true. You in it. So if you ever wanted to exit your business and you start talking to a potential buyer and they find out that the business can't run without you, you know, they're out.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Good advice, man. Worth the price of admission right there, folks. Right, there's some writer downers right there, unless you're driving. Don't write it down. Well, on the flip side of that, I'm going to ask Blake, besides the guy who said he would get drug out with the trash and the drywall, what good advice, what's the best advice you got besides not getting drug out with the drywall trash?
Well, I kind of mentioned already the fail fast and fail forward. And I learned that from a guy I met when I was managing country clubs. He was a Jewish fellow who owned a store there in Monroe, Louisiana, where I was working. And he said when he first got out of college, his dad and his uncles got together and they set him up in a store. You know, they provided all the capital to get him going in his first business right out of college. Mm-hmm. And they handed him the keys and they said, "Here you go. I hope you fail." And he told me that. And the reason why is because that's how you learn. You learn from failing. And if you want another quote I heard is, you know, if you want an expert is somebody who's made every mistake that can possibly be made in that field. That's how you become an expert. And so, and the way you fail is you got to get out there and try, even though you don't know.
Right.
You might not know everything you need to going into whatever you're going to do, but you just got to get out there and be willing to fail because that's how you learn. So fail fast and fail forward. And that's a John Maxwell quote.
I like it, brother. I like it. I like it. All right. So let's move over to, well, sort of a little bit more operation side of it. You know, Blake, and you got 22 inspectors. I'm right in there with you. And the more you have, the more likely it's going to happen. You know, if you do enough inspections, you're going to have an unhappy camper. How do you handle unhappy campers? Do you have a process? And what's that look like?
Yeah, so we have a client concern form that we ask when a client calls. We just say, "Great, I'm so glad that you called us to give us this feedback and let us know what's going on. We'd like to help you through this in any way that we can," and give them the client concern form. Please fill this out so we have the information that we need to investigate this. As soon as we get that back from the client, then we want to go out on site. We found that trying to deal with them over the phone or by email is just never productive. It always just ends up with them becoming more disgruntled. But if you can get out there on site, face to face with them, things seem to go better. So we want to get out there to do a site investigation. And of course, if it's something that that we messed up, we missed something, whatever it is, then usually we offer them a refund. I really don't like, depending on what it is, I really don't like paying for repairs. I've got several reasons around that, things like, if a panel's not wired correctly, well, the inspector's not the one who did the work. So how can we be responsible for that work? Not reporting it is one thing, but the person who's actually responsible for it is the person who did the work.
Right.
Of course, that person's hard to find, obviously. So we usually just offer a refund if it's something that we missed. If it's something that we didn't miss, and we try to never make an excuse for ourselves. It may be that we didn't communicate properly with the client. We didn't communicate, hey, there's going to be things that are not visible and accessible, or whatever it is. Even if it's a crazy client, and there's a lot of those out there, but we try to just say, what could we have done to make the situation different or to have avoided this situation? And sometimes the client will say, yeah, I can see how, there was a couch in front of that, so I can see how you didn't catch that. I'm okay. Other times, it's just, you're not going to make the client happy. We offer them a refund of the inspection fee. And if it goes beyond that, and I haven't had too many situations like that, but if they start threatening a lawsuit or anything like that, we just turn it over to our attorney. And usually one letter from the attorney just quashes it right there. But we try to.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah.
Have you worked with, what's happened with us is we kind of worked with an attorney, and over time, with many different things, he sort of learned our business, which is good because, the first time you go to an attorney, they know the law and they know parliamentary procedure or whatever, court procedure, and they know all this stuff. But you actually probably know more about home inspection, standards and practice and law. I guess what I'm doing this for is our audience. Have you had that experience and just kind of kept working with the same attorney, and over time he sort of learned your business?
Well, we started out with Joe Ferry, the inspector. Okay. So he knows the business, and he's got, I don't know if you've ever worked with him, but he's got a standard letter that he just modifies slightly that he sends out to every, any one of your clients that you tell him, hey, we need to give this guy a letter, and so we learned from him, a lot of the legalese that needs to be, and I've even used that in some of my responses to a client that's an unreasonable client. But now I have my nephew's wife is an attorney, and they live just across in another neighborhood across the road here from me. So,
oh, nice.
And I've shown her, look, these are because Joe Ferry has all the precedences and everything in his letters, these court cases have held up and blah, blah, blah. And so now she's going to kind of handle that for us. But I agree with you 100%. Having an inspector that knows the business and knows where the legal precedents are and knows the court cases that have gone around in home inspection is invaluable.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I think Joe has a service too, doesn't he? Like you can pay. I'm not sure.
Yeah, for an individual inspector, it's $500 a year, and then if you have a disgruntled client, you send him the information. He sends a letter to that client, and it usually just quashes it. And then also, if he's affiliated with an E&O insurance agency there, and if there is a claim on E&O, then that money you pay him, the annual fee retainer, goes towards your deductible on your E&O.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Awesome. I didn't realize. I learned something. I didn't know that.
But for us, it's like $4,000 a year, and because of the number of inspectors we have, and it just got to where, for 1 or 2 letters a year, $4,000, it was just, I was like, well, I can find another attorney for a lot cheaper than that. So
right.
So it's got a good service.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know. I mean, I hadn't seen him in a while, but I used to see him at conferences. He's a pretty funny guy too. I see him on Facebook. Now he'll tell you his political opinions, but I don't want to get on that on this podcast because I don't want anybody to tune us out. I love everybody. Hi, I'm Preston Salen, and I own Home Inspection Carolina, and I wanted to show you a way that you can get more home inspection leads. So what you can do, you obviously can do a pre-inspection, but I understand some people don't want to do that. But what it is, we set out a sign, and this sign is going to have information about the house. When you text that, you can have information about the house, you could have a home inspection discount, you could also lead them to a website. So this is my daughter, Sarah Margaret. Say hi.
Hi.
So Sarah Margaret, you pretend like you're buying this house, and I want you to text, you're riding by, doing a kiki dance, whatever, and you see, hey, I'm interested in this house. I'd like you to text info to that number, okay?
Okay.
So go ahead and do that now. She's interested in the house. So for more information on this house, she's going to text that and a home inspection discount. Okay, so I just got the lead in the buyer. Now, you should get something in a second. So what'd you get? So click on the top one there, yeah. So you'll see what she gets. So she's going to get information about the house. And meanwhile, I got the lead. All right, so scroll up just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. So there's like a little video about the house. Of course, your phone's really slow. There's multiple pictures of the house and whatnot. And well, there goes the video finally. I'm gonna have to edit this a little bit. But the cool thing is read what it says there. Read that out loud, Samara.
This is a demo house. It is not for sale. It is for demonstration purposes only. Information about the house would go here if this house was actually for sale. If you are interested in getting a home inspection, call 704-542-6575 with the code HIC 2018. You can receive a $23 discount on a home inspection on this house or any house you decide to buy in this area. Discount code HIC 2018. 704-542-6575.
Okay. Now, well, I talk a little bit. Text that same number, text info1. You can just use the same number, text info1 now. So what I'm going to do is show you how we did a couple of other things with it. But again, the whole thing is to drive leads. Now I have the lead and I can follow up with her. She's a potential buyer. I can do a drip campaign. Let me go one. Now click on that. What you got for no, top there. Edit this. See how there's a discount code there. Home inspection discount. All right, last one. Go back to that same text and text info 3. So this is something of value that's not a discount code. It's an inspection list. So I can put that sign anywhere. And again, see, I'm getting the lead. So I'll click on here to the lead. And you see, I just got these leads. Is your number 704-7? Oh, I better not say that out loud because guys will be calling you. But obviously, all right, so did you do info 3? Mm-hmm. All right, now click on that top one and make show what that shows on there. So, all 3, I captured the lead. I did information about the house with a home inspection discount. I can connect it to a URL that has a home inspection discount, a URL with a something giveaway, that's checklist, radon information, you name it. But we capture the lead. So everybody who texts this, we get that home inspection lead. They're going to need a home inspection. They're also going to need probably a realtor. So the realtor is going to like us as well. So check out inspectedhouses.com. It's a new way to get leads for your home inspection business and leads for the realtor as well. Thank you. All right, Blake. So you kind of alluded to this maybe with that store owner guy, but what's the toughest time you've had in your business and what'd you learn from
Say that again.
it? In your business, what's the toughest year to date, or to this point, what has been the toughest setback or something that you've had, and what'd you learn from it?
Yeah, really for me is when I started hiring inspectors, and a lot of inspecting company owners make this mistake. You start out paying your inspectors too much, and it's just not a sustainable business model. And then you get to the point where you just have to go to them and say, man, we've got to change this pay structure. I can't, we're going to go under. You get into you start out with, oh, it's slow in the winter time, so I'm going to get a line of credit to help keep the salaries going until things pick up, and then you pay it off in the summertime, and you got to, and it's just not a sustainable model. So what I learned is you got to start out with a profitable business model from the get-go, and it's got to be one that you can project out into the future, not one that works for you today, but one that's going to work for you 10 years from now, because they're very different, because all of a sudden you've got 20 inspectors, and you've got workman's comp insurance, you've got admin, you've got all these overhead items that you got to pay to keep things going. And if you're not making a good enough profit, if your gross margin is not high enough to cover your expenses, then the whole thing just goes down. So we had to have some hard conversations with all of our inspectors year before last. And what we ended up doing was putting an admin fee on top of the inspection fee. And it's just a portion of the fee that they don't get paid commissions on, and that goes straight to in-house to help us cover our expenses. And that was a tough thing.
Yeah. And I've talked to several inspectors that went through the similar thing, and I think you're right. A lot of people do pay too much in the beginning. But I want to my next question is going to be about social media, but I did want to tell you, I went to your website prior to our thing. That's cool, man. It's super inspector. You kind of got the whole Superman theme going. That's pretty cool, man. I like it. Well, I have two questions for you then. Who does your website? They do a good job. And do you do social media? Do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, so we call him our director of growth, the DOG, the big dog. He's our main marketing guy, and he, along with a web company, developed the website for us, and he's done a lot of our social media for us. We have a lot of videos. We have a YouTube channel with hundreds of videos on it. We have a makeshift video studio inside of our office with a green screen. Oh, wow. And cool. we make a lot of videos. We actually invite realtors, if they want to make a video, come in, we'll film it for them, edit it for them and everythome.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant, man. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and we'll bring them in and just do interviews with them, first time home buyer interview, or kind of what you're doing, and they can post it on their Facebook or their YouTube channel or whatever they want. And we add effects and all that stuff. But my daughter, she is 27, she'll be 27 in December. She was teaching school after college, and she got burnt out on that after 4 years. And so she's come to work with us, and she's big in the social media scene. So she's getting us set up on Instagram and Facebook and all that. And we're starting, like I said, we're going to start doing some podcasts. And I did a bunch of blogs, back a couple of years ago. And that did help boost our website standings on Google. But, I see the writing on the wall. If you're not on putting a ton of content on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you're gonna get left behind. I mean, it's got one of the things that I'm working on is I'm going to try to get our inspectors to start doing just real short videos at an inspection. They find something, even if it's just something goofy, it doesn't really matter. Just some piece of content every day that we can post on Facebook and Instagram. So we've got, 20, 25 pieces of content every single day going on to social media. And it's something you can do yourself.
Yeah.
And if you can start putting that much content on there, then it just it increases your presence by so much that if people are on social media, they're going to start seeing you. We don't do any pay-per-click ads or Facebook ads or anything like that. We've relied mostly on realtor relationships. We haven't really relied much on online marketing advertising.
Cool. I want to back up on a couple of things you said there. I do the same thing. I pay my guys $15 a video. And I just want it to be 2 minutes or less, actually, because, people don't have really long attention spans, myself attest. And basically, this is John so-and-so with, super inspector. What we're looking at today is blah, 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 blah. I do pay $50 if they get a snake or a bat video. Those tend to go a little more viral. And I tell this story all the time. I know people who are listening to it probably like, you told that story about this one guy kept sending me. I was like, after a while, I was like, is that the same snake? I think you're carrying that thing around. But for all the listeners out there, and I'll ask you again at the end, tell us what your YouTube channel is. And if you're getting value from Blake, and you are, go subscribe to it. I think that'll help him. But your YouTube channel, your website, and your Facebook page, what are those?
Yeah, on YouTube, you can just search Super Inspector, and it'll come up. And then our website is yoursuperinspector.com.
Cool.
And then Facebook, same thing, just search Super Inspector. And we also have another company, we have a concierge service. So Super Concierge is our concierge service. And we have website and Facebook for that as well.
Cool.
I think it's supermovein.com is our concierge service.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. Pretty brilliant. So the YouTube was it just Super Inspector on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay, when we get off here, I'm gonna go subscribe if I'm not already. I want to check out some of your stuff, and I like the idea of doing the videos for realtors. That's pretty brilliant. My next question is, a lot of inspectors listening to this get this price shoppers. As soon as they call you, how much for an inspection? And they're calling a whole bunch of people. How do you handle that call?
Yeah, so it's same old stuff. You try to give them the value proposition. We empower our customer care coordinator. We call them superheroes of customer care.
I like it.
So we
you
empower
call
them.
each one of your directors super directors too.
I like that. I'm gonna have to use that. We empower them to give up to a $50 discount. So first we go into the script about the value proposition. Like, we understand you're calling around to get quotes. But just make sure you're comparing apples to apples. We provide all of these things. Most inspection companies don't provide these. And if they say, well, yeah, I'm still going to call these other companies, and say, well, I hate for you to call another company because I know we're going to do a great job for you. So if you'll go ahead and book with us right now, I can give you a $25 discount. And
nice.
A lot of times that closes it. Not all the time. Our call close rate is about 86%, and that's something that we really focus on with our people. Is we monitor that call close rate every day, and if we see it start slipping, we start working with them. Hey, what's going on here? Sometimes it's just they're don't want to put in the extra effort. It's okay if you want to call somebody else. Call me back if you can't find anything, and hang up. So. Yeah. We record every phone call, and so a lot of times we'll go back and listen to those phone calls if we see that close rate start to slip.
Cool. Well, Blake, this is a question that I ask a lot, but I'm going to modify it a little bit this time. You've obviously, had a background in construction, contracting, and then, you did that work at the country club, but then you sort of came back to it with inspections, and you've seen some changes. My question has to do with the future. I usually just ask, how will inspections change in the future? And, that's usually like, well, we'll probably use more technology and stuff like that. But I'm going to modify it a little bit and say, and you alluded to it, and I'm the same. I rely heavily on realtor things and whatnot, but you also said you saw the writing on the wall about content and stuff. So you see where I'm going with this. How do you think the inspection business will change in the future? But more importantly, if we want to stay on top of marketing and getting business, how do you think that's going to change in the future?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's all about technology, and technology is replacing people. And that's happening in the real estate world, and it's going to start happening in the home inspection world too. I mean, if you think about it, all the home automation is really going to start going into not just automating, turning things off and on, but also diagnostics. So you're going to start having air conditioning or heat and air systems that are self-diagnosing, and you can just look at your iPhone and it tells you, your air conditioner filter is dirty. They already have that. They have air filters with Bluetooth on them that tell you when they need to be changed, or it's low on refrigerant, or there's a refrigerant leak. I can even foresee, sensors on foundations that will alert you to when the foundation is shifting or moving or cracking or whatever it is. That's a technology that's probably could be installed now. It's just nobody's doing it. Or technology that notifies a homeowner when there's a higher level of moisture than normal in the attic, which might indicate a leak, whatever it is. And so people will begin to be able to inspect a large portion of their house without the expertise of a home inspector. And so you might want to think about getting in the home automation business. Being able to stay, you've got to embrace that technology. You can't resist it. Yeah. So, because those who resist it are just going to be left behind.
It's funny you mentioned that, Blake, today, because I did a presentation today for some realtors, and, I fielded questions at the end, and one of the questions I got was exactly pertaining to that. They said, is home automation, where smart homes and all this, she was a little frustrated. She said, the inspection she's had, the inspector said, well, that's just not part of the standards of practice or whatever. I can't do that. I can't inspect that. And believe me, all my inspectors out there, I feel you. I know what you mean. It's not something part of it. But she asked, are you going to do that? Is that something? And I said, are inspectors in the future? And my response to her, he was right that, it isn't part of our thing. But I do think we're going to have to learn, because we're going to have to learn how to inspect these smart homes, or the machines are going to take over, But it is something, and I did say, typically now everything though is a Wi-Fi connection, because I have the thermostats and I can see my cameras. Ideally I would love to just operate my entire house from my phone. Fireplace on. Luther Vandross, hey honey, how you doing tonight? Music on. But I think, I don't know, and I hope I don't take any home inspectors off, but the worst thing we can do is get stuck in our ways. As things change, we've got to change,
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing is on the marketing side, is if technology begins to replace the real estate agent, then where are you going to get your business from? And it's not going to be doing a Google search. It's going to be, hey, Alexa, I need a home inspector. And Alexa's going to say, okay, I've got 3 here. These are top rated, blah, blah, blah. Which one would you like? And Alexa's going to schedule it for you, right? Yeah. So you've got to build that online content so that when Alexa's looking for an inspector that you're one of the three that she chooses.
I'm going to go test that out. I'm afraid. I thought about doing it before, but I was too afraid of if I'm not one of the three, like, oh.
Well,
and everything's
right. Voice, going forward. It's, keyboards and things like that. As the voice recognition software gets better and better, we're going to be moving away from keyboards and things like that. And so it's just going to be more and more automated, more and more quick, less searching online and just asking the computer, hey,
yeah. No, I agree. And I guess the voice thing is analyzing is the person who has the most content kind of wins. It seems like. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but that's.
Well, they might be looking at online reviews and content and all that. So, if you're not collecting online reviews, man, you got to get on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is a not fun question, but I know it's happened to you. Blake, hey, one of your guys inspected my house 6 months ago, and there's a contractor out here said you missed blank. What are you going to do about it? Have you had a contractor throw you under the bus? It's going to happen. I don't think we can stop it. But how do you handle it? Is there any way to control it?
Well, again, we handle it just like we would any other concern. We're going to have them fill out the concern form. We're going to go out there. If it gets ugly, we might bring our own contractor out. I've had a case where, a good thing to have on your side is especially in our area, is a good structural engineer. And so, like, we had one where we went out and inspection, and we do a foundation elevation survey on every inspection that we do. And so we got measurements on the foundation. And so we did this inspection. We measured the foundation. It's a little off, but no big deal. And told them it was fine. Of course, then some foundation repair company comes out and says, "Oh man, we got to put piers over here, and it's $8,000-$10,000, whatever it is." And I just take that report, our report, and if we get that call, and we have, we take those reports and we send them to our friend who's an engineer, and he looks them over, and he'll write a big long letter saying, "Hey, the inspector did exactly right." If we were in the right, if we're in the wrong, he'll say so. But the inspector did exactly right. This foundation does not need repair. And most of the time, if you do repair this foundation, it's going to make it worse, and you're going to be in for more repairs in the future. And that usually stops it on the foundation side. HVAC is a little more tricky, and again, we look at it as no excuses. If that contractor's telling you that and you believe him, that means we didn't set expectations right at the outset for you. And so we tell them that, we do take some responsibility for this because we didn't let you know what the expectation, what you could expect from our inspection. We didn't pull the thing apart. We didn't check Freon levels or refrigerant levels. And if you didn't understand that, then that's our fault. So we try to take that approach. And a lot of times they may say, well, hey, I understand now that that's not part of your inspection. And so, I'll take care of this. But if it goes beyond that, we'll offer them a refund of the inspection fee. And if it goes beyond that, then we contact the attorney.
Good. All right, so there's a little bit more fun question here, but remember, it's a G-rated show. At least I told iTunes that. What's the craziest thing you or one of your guys have ever found or came across? And I've had some crazy ones during an inspection.
We come across the normal crazy things that you find, like, snakes and possums and, a German Shepherd with puppies under a house,
Oh gosh.
But one thing that was particularly crazy, I inspected a farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere. And this was a 1940s farmhouse, and it was lean. The house was really needed to be torn down. And the guy was like, man, I'm just buying it for the property. And it was a beautiful piece of property, and I had great views and everything. And he said, I just want to live in the house for just a few years till I pay off the property, and then I'm going to build a house. And I was like, so I just want to know if this house is livable. So I get in there and I start inspecting it, and it's got a septic system. And so I start running the water in the bathtub to charge the septic system, and it almost immediately starts backing up. So I go out and I start probing where the tank is, and I hit the tank and it sounds like metal. It's boom. I'm like, oh, it's not supposed to be metal, So I probe it, and from my probe, I can tell this thing is like 20 feet long and about 6 feet wide. And so we dig around a little bit, and I'm like, man, I'm just going to have to get a septic guy out here. And so we call a septic guy out there, and they get out there and start digging it up. And what the farmer had done was just buried a huge oil tank out there.
Oh my gosh.
With no lateral lines. He was just filling up that tank, and that was it.
How long had this been going on?
I have no idea, but it was full. You couldn't put anything else into it.
Oh my God. So now it's going to cost to get rid of that thing too, man. Golly.
Yeah, he just left it. He put in a septic system because he's going to need one anyway. It cost him, I think, $9 or $10 to put in a new septic system.
Wow, it's a good thing you found that, man.
That tank there, he didn't do anything with it. He just left it.
Yikes. Whoa, that one's going to move up the charts. I like that one. I mean, well, I don't like it, but I mean, I like it for weird, Yeah. I'm going to have to rank one day. I might just do a list of all the crazy things. We're winding down here, Blake, and we really appreciate your time. What's the best part of your job, and why? What's the worst part of your job?
For me, it's really about our mission statement is we provide opportunity and super experiences to our team, our clients, and our agents. And so providing opportunity, especially to our team, and seeing them succeed and the changes that makes in their lives. I mean, we're very proud of the fact that we can have an inspector who maybe has been on his own for a year or so, and for whatever reason hasn't been successful. And we can bring him in and give them the tools and training that they need to be successful. And last year we had 3 of our guys that made over $100,000 a year, and we're just real proud of that. The changes that it makes in their lives and the feedback that they give us, is just really satisfying. And so that's would be the most satisfying part of the job.
Wow. Yeah, that's 30% of that $1 million payroll right there. Those guys are probably studs. Just got 2 or 3 questions here. What's your best low cost or no cost marketing advice? Somebody's starting out, they don't have much of a budget. What could they do?
Yeah, it's really, for us, it's calling realtors on the phone and trying to set a meeting with them. Say, let me take you out to coffee. I mean, it really doesn't cost anything to do that. $5 for a cup of coffee. And if you can get out, and it's just a numbers game. You might call 100 realtors and get 2 or 3 that will take that meeting. But if you're targeting the top 20% realtors in your market, those 2 or 3 will make your company.
Nice.
And so, to me, that's the best low cost marketing you can do is just telephone prospecting. Get that list. And you can go on what's the top agency in your market. All right, go on their website and you'll see who their top agents are. They're on their website, and just start putting that list together of the top 20% agents in your market and just start calling them and just try to get that meeting with them. But you got to have a value proposition when you talk to them. And really what you want to do when you talk to them is talk more about them than yourself. And then listen to, some of the problems that they're having, and think about how you can provide them solutions. And then at the end of the conversation, it's, hey, look, I've heard you say these things, and these are some of the problems you're having. I really think I can help you with this, and this is how I can do that. And so why don't we do this?
That's awesome, man. That's worth the price of admission right there.
Yeah. But why don't we do this? The next 3 inspections, give us a shot, and then we can get back together. And you can give me your feedback. I can learn more about what your needs are and how we can improve our company. And then if you don't want to use us anymore, we can part ways, friends.
Nice, nice. All right, now this question, I apologize, kind of similar, but kind of not. It's the question I always ask. If you went to sleep tonight and woke up tomorrow morning in an alternative universe or another city, you still had all your inspectors, all your equipment, all your everything, room and board taken care of, but you're in a brand new town, the same size. That'd be pretty big to be Dallas Fort Worth size, but you don't know anybody and you've got $5,000 to market. What would you do with that $5,000 in the first week?
Well, I would probably hire an admin person first. But I would print up some business cards and start making phone calls. I'd probably join a real estate association and maybe go to some meetings to try to start getting my name out there. Of course, you got to get set up with all your, super key and all that kind of stuff, but your e-keys. But that's probably where I'd start, real estate association, and get your phone calls set up and your script set up, and get your business cards and just start talking to people. It's just all about relationships.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Well, Blake, is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have, or I should have asked you that I didn't, or something like that?
Let's see. I wrote this down. Okay, let's see. Well, let's see. I mentioned a couple of things that you may not know about. One is that we operate in two major markets right now, not just Dallas-Fort Worth, but also the greater Austin area, which is about 200 miles away.
Oh, wow.
So we have a marketing person there and 5 inspectors in Austin. And we just started there, and we started there in May of 2017, expanded into the Austin market. And we're planning on expanding into the San Antonio market as well, which is about an hour and a half south of Austin. And that market is really growing together between Austin and San Antonio to become kind of like a metroplex like we have here in Dallas-Fort Worth. And we plan on expanding into Houston and Oklahoma City down the road as well. So, and that's kind of the way I see the industry going. Is for years, it's just been a cottage industry with a lot of guys with a truck and a flashlight and a ladder going out doing inspections, all sole proprietors and things like that, with a few multi-inspector firms, and some of them have grown into regional. We've got, BPG and now House Check. We've got some national brands. But I think that the industry is going to consolidate more and more in the near term, where you're going to see larger regional and national companies emerging. And so there's a lot of opportunity there. There's so much opportunity in the home inspection industry right now that people aren't taking advantage of. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to promote and that we're trying to do with our business.
Man, good stuff. So let me ask you, I want to ask a couple questions about that. Your Austin market. Now, are you running all the calls through, I guess you have the infrastructure in Dallas-Fort Worth. Are all the calls still coming in there, and you just have boots on the ground there as far as inspectors, and you got a marketing person?
We don't have a physical location there. We answer all the calls up here. We handle all the admin up here in Dallas-Fort Worth. We just have our growth person down there and our inspectors. And it's a great market. It's grown like crazy. We started in 2017. We did 200 inspections from May to December when we first started down there. And the first thing I did was hire a growth person. And then 2018, we did 800 inspections. The first full year in business, but the second year, and we'll do over 1,400 this year.
Wow. Let me ask you something. Now, I just a little off script here. I hope this, because I'm right here. Your growth person. I probably know some of the stuff they do, but practically, so what do they do? What's their week look like? What's their day look like? What's a growth person? What's your job description or job you know, if I was going to be your growth person, what would I have to do? What would my job description be?
So you'd be making 100 prospecting calls a week to top performing agents,
Okay.
setting appointments with those agents. We've got targets for those on how many appointments every week that they need to go on. We want them in the offices trying to set up events. We teach continuing education classes for realtors that they get credit for their licensing on. And so we're trying to set those classes up, and we're affiliated with title companies because title companies are big into the education. So they bring us in as an education provider, and that doesn't cost us anything but the time of the teacher to be there. Because usually they bring in a mortgage company to sponsor the lunch. They provide the space. All we do is go in and teach, and that's really powerful. So they're responsible for making those relationships with the title companies so that we can get those classes going. That gets us in front of 15, 25 agents, and it sets us up as an expert in the field because we're given education on it. And then just keep maintaining those relationships. So doing the pop buys, it's doing the have not heard calls. So if we haven't heard from an agent in 3 months, they're going to be calling saying, hey, just want to make sure everything's okay. Is there anything we can do for you right now? That kind of stuff. So those are the main things that they do, is just setting up events, prospecting calls, meeting with agents, visiting the offices, doing pop buys. We don't really have a route, so we just target an office, and then we just try to get in there as much as we can and go to the next office.
Nice, good stuff. Well, Blake, I'm gonna let you get back to it, but thank you so much for your time. Man, you have dropped gold nuggets and bombs all over the place. For all the listeners out there, let's go give this guy some love because he gave you some value. And you can do that by subscribing to his stuff. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Go like his Facebook thing. And I'm assuming on the website, if they wanted to know more about you, they could probably email you or contact you through that. So one more time, what's all those internet real estate things that you can go out and show you some love on?
Yeah, so on YouTube, just search Super Inspector. On Facebook, you can just search Super Inspector as well. And then our website is yoursuperinspector.com. I'm fairly active on Facebook and some of the home inspector groups. I do a lot of recruiting on Facebook, so we get a lot of recruits from there. So I'm usually on there just scrolling through, looking at stuff. You can message me on Facebook. That's how you and I connected on Facebook Messenger, so I'm happy to do that. And I'm happy to talk to anybody over the phone about their business. I always learn from people when I talk to them, and I'm happy to share, whatever knowledge I have. I'm an open book, so there's enough business out there for everybody. I'm not afraid of sharing anything that I've done or anything that's worked for me or hasn't worked for me.
Awesome. All right, Blake, let me thank you so much.